Myanmar, formerly known as Burma, is a Southeast Asian nation rich in cultural heritage and history. Often referred to as the Land of 1,000 Pagodas, Myanmar is home to some of the most breathtaking religious sites in the world, such as the Shwedagon Pagoda in Yangon. This iconic structure, with its 99-meter-tall golden stupa, is one of the most sacred sites in Buddhism, believed to house 8 strands of hair from the Buddha Gautama himself. Beyond its spiritual landmarks, Myanmar is also known for its traditional arts and unique cultural practices. The intricate puppet art of Yok Thi, for example, has been a staple of Burmese theater for centuries, offering a glimpse into the country's rich storytelling traditions. Additionally, the use of Tanaka, a natural paste made from ground bark, serves not only as a cosmetic, but also as a natural sunscreen, reflecting the deep connection between the people and their natural environment. Myanmar's natural wealth extends beyond its cultural treasures. The town of Mogok, often referred to as the Valley of Rubies, is renowned for producing some of the finest rubies and gemstones in the world. This abundance of precious minerals has made Mogok a hub for miners and gem enthusiasts alike, with its high-quality stones fetching premium prices on the international market. However, beneath the surface of Myanmar's beauty and cultural richness lies a much darker side, a legacy of conflict, discrimination, and serious social issues that have plagued the country for decades. One of the most notorious examples is the town of Mongla, located in eastern Myanmar. Mongla has earned a reputation as the Sin City of Myanmar, a place where illegal activities seem to operate with impunity. The town is controlled by the National Democratic Alliance Army, led by Ceylon, a regional leader with ties to drug trafficking. Under his rule, Mongla has become a hotspot for illicit activities, including drug trade, prostitution, human trafficking, and the trade of exotic wildlife. The town's deep connections with China are evident in its infrastructure and even its currency, which is predominantly the Chinese yuan. Myanmar's troubles extend far beyond Mongla. The country is part of Southeast Asia's notorious Golden Triangle, alongside Laos and Thailand, a region infamous for its opium production. According to the 2023 Southeast Asia Opium Survey by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, opium cultivation in Myanmar has surged, with agricultural land dedicated to opium poppy cultivation increasing from 40,100 hectares in 2022 to 47,100 hectares in 2023. This expansion has solidified Myanmar's position as the world's largest supplier of opium, surpassing even Afghanistan in recent years. In 2023, the estimated yield per hectare of opium poppy fields surged to 22.9 kilograms, surpassing the previous record of 19.8 kilograms per hectare in 2022. This increase in efficiency has resulted in a lucrative market, with the average price of opium hovering around $344 per kilogram. The year 2023 saw Myanmar exporting a staggering 154 tons of heroin, with an estimated value of about $2 million. In Mongla, drugs can be purchased openly on the streets, reflecting the brazen freedom with which illegal substances are traded in the city. This unrestricted drug trade is just one aspect of the broader issues plaguing Mongla. The city has also become notorious for its organized and widespread prostitution and human trafficking networks. Many of the sex workers in Mongla are trafficked from impoverished areas, such as Rangoon, to cater to the influx of tourists, especially from China, who come specifically to exploit the city's thriving illegal sex industry. Adding to this dark tableau is the rampant trade in exotic wildlife. In Mongla, endangered species such as tigers, crocodiles, elephant ivory, turtles, snakes, and pangolins are traded openly. These illegal products are readily available throughout the city, and despite the potential for local law enforcement to intervene, the overwhelming influence of the drug cartels keeps them in check, rendering them powerless to stop these activities. The social problems in Mongla are further compounded by the rapid expansion of casinos and hotels, driven by the growing gambling industry. The city's development in this regard is paradoxical, as it sits in a seismically active region where the threat of earthquakes looms large, capable of bringing down the tall buildings that now dominate the skyline. Mongla's survival is intricately tied to its strong connections with Yunnan province in China. The city's economy and the persistence of its illicit activities are heavily dependent on these cross-border ties. However, this relationship is precarious. Any shift in policy from the Chinese government could bring an abrupt end to the illegal enterprises that sustain Mongla, halting its economy and potentially collapsing the entire system of corruption and crime that the city is built upon. In Myanmar, there is also the world's most unusual city, Naypyidaw. Inaugurated as Myanmar's new capital in November 2005 by the military regime, this city was supposed to become the administrative center of the country. However, reality tells a different story. Despite being built at a staggering cost of $4 billion, Naypyidaw looks more like a ghost town. Its massive 20-lane highways are eerily empty, while its grand temples and towering shopping malls stand largely uninhabited. Naypyidaw was originally designed to alleviate congestion in Yangon, but this relocation has proven to be a major failure. The city, which is 4 times the size of London and 6 times larger than New York, seems to lack appeal for residents. Even though it boasts complete facilities such as sports stadiums, golf courses, hotels, restaurants with fast Wi-Fi, hospitals, schools, and supermarkets, Naypyidaw remains deserted. One of the main reasons for Naypyidaw's failure is the lack of economic acceleration. Apartments and housing are available, but there is no marketplace functioning as a hub for commercial activity. Retail businesses, gas stations, and hotels are reluctant to invest in this city due to the scarcity of customers. The cost of living in Naypyidaw is also higher compared to Yangon, prompting government employees to think pragmatically and return to the old city. In the end, Naypyidaw only became lively during the 2013 Southeast Asian Games, after which the city returned to its eerie silence. Today, Naypyidaw is better known as a ghost town, a selfie spot, and a symbol of the Myanmar government's ambitious but ultimately failed project. Additionally, ethnic and political conflicts in Myanmar often cause instability and suffering for many of its citizens. Amid the loud headlines about wars in Ukraine and Gaza, the armed conflict raging in Myanmar often goes unnoticed. Yet, in regions like the Irrawaddy River Basin, cruelty and war crimes continue to unfold to this day. Airstrikes by the Myanmar military have destroyed villages and killed thousands of civilians, displacing more than 2.3 million people and leaving 18.6 million in urgent need of humanitarian assistance. Previously, on February 1st, 2021, the Myanmar military seized power through a coup, detaining civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi and members of her party, the National League for Democracy. This coup was led by the top military commander, Min Aung Hlaing, who sought to justify his actions by claiming he would establish a true and fair democracy. However, the reality is that the military is facing increasing resistance. An alliance of ethnic armies launched attacks in Shan State at the end of October last year, sparking a wave of resistance across the country and forcing the military to retreat from strategic bases. In addition to armed conflict, Myanmar has also become a hub for cyber slavery. Thousands of migrant workers are forced to work in online scam facilities, one of which involves romance scams aimed at stealing money from their victims. Ravi, not his real name, is a migrant worker from Sri Lanka who became one of their victims. He was tortured and forced to deceive wealthy individuals through fake romantic relationships. These scam operations generate billions of dollars for underground crime syndicates and armed groups operating along Myanmar's borders. In early 2024, it was revealed that thousands of people forced into these online scams were being exploited by Chinese criminal syndicates. Those who refused to participate faced torture, starvation, and even murder. According to the United Nations, over 100,000 people are forced to work in scam centers in Myanmar, targeting victims in the United States, Europe, and even in China itself. These operations are supported by the Myanmar Border Guard Force, but are ultimately controlled by ruthless Chinese criminal leaders. Myanmar is also infamous for its campaign of ethnic cleansing against the Rohingya Muslims. Since August 25, 2017, more than 730,000 Rohingya have fled to Bangladesh, while around 600,000 remain under brutal government control in Rakhine State. Myanmar's security forces have systematically killed, raped, and burned the homes of Rohingya residents, leading to thousands of deaths and the destruction of nearly 400 villages. A Rohingya refugee in Bangladesh described the atrocities they faced, stating, "The Myanmar authorities tortured us, burned our homes, raped our mothers and sisters, and set our children on fire." The Rohingya, who remain in Myanmar, continue to face systematic abuses, including apartheid, persecution, and deprivation of basic freedoms. They are confined to camps and villages with no freedom of movement, cut off from access to food, healthcare, education, and adequate livelihoods. When the generals who orchestrated the atrocities against the Rohingya launched a coup in 2021 and detained Myanmar's elected civilian leaders, the military junta responded to mass protests with a nationwide campaign of mass killings, torture, arbitrary arrests, and indiscriminate attacks, crimes against humanity, and war crimes that also affected Rohingya villages. The military junta imposed new movement restrictions and aid blockades on Rohingya camps and villages, exacerbating water shortages, food scarcity, disease, and malnutrition. Since the coup, around 2,000 Rohingya, including hundreds of children, have been arrested and sentenced to up to 5 years in prison for unauthorized travel. These conditions reveal the dark side of Myanmar, a country trapped in violence, oppression, and widespread human rights violations.